So I've been on a high carb diet for probably the last 4 months or so. It's been a couple months since I posted my video explaining why I'm stopping a ketogenic diet, why it's not better for fat loss, and I'll link that right here if you want to go ahead and watch it. And I got a lot of requests to keep you guys updated on my journey. Long story short, if you're not going to watch through and stick around with me, there's been really no shifts in energy levels or anything like that. The only thing that has changed is that I'm just eating I'm able to eat out more without stressing about it. And I am obviously including a wider variety of foods in my diet. And I'm also going to share with you in this video some of my carb sources as well. But I just got home from work. It's about 9 a.m. It's time for a shower and a shave, make some coffee, and then I'll go into further details. There we go, feeling fresh and smooth, a lot better. Just had my coffee, just took a personalized stack of nootropics as well that I've been experimenting with for the last 2 months or so. I'm gonna have videos on that coming out soon. But before I get into the details, two things I wanna cover. Yes, I've continued to lose weight on a higher carb diet. And I wanna make clear what high carb is, because technically, I wouldn't say I'm traditionally high carb. I would consider high carb to be 250, 300 plus grams of carbs per day. I'm not that high, but compared to, coming off of a ketogenic lower carb diet, and in that community, I'm definitely, to them, high carb. On average, I have probably about 150 grams of carbs per day. I'll put the average right here. I'll pull it from my last 4 or 5 weeks and average it out from my macro calculator from when I check my food. But yeah, so I've continued to lose weight. Matter of fact, here's a chart of my weekly weigh-ins for the past however many weeks. It should say right there on the chart. And my carb sources have been, I have them written down here because I kind of went through my food log. I'll post some pictures here of some of the foods that I normally eat throughout the week. When I'm at home, mini potatoes are really awesome. I love roasting them, giving them a slight broil, and then tossing them with either some Greek yogurt or some sour cream, or eating them with tomatoes, something like that. Mini potatoes. I do have some sweet potatoes and squash. Squash is amazing, super delicious. I have rice noodles on a consistent basis as well as soba noodles. The rice noodles are made from white rice, and soba noodles, I believe, are made from some kind of wheat flour or something like that. It's an Asian dish, and I've been having a lot of Asian inspired soups lately, like pho. My carbs also come primarily every single day from Greek yogurt, so dairy products. That would include milk and Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is so good. I mix it with stevia that you saw me put in my coffee. I mix it with some fruits, which is another one of my carb sources, primarily apples and berries. Raspberries, blueberries, and that's pretty much it. I'll have strawberries every once in a while. I try to keep my fruit to what's in season locally to me. I try to keep all my produce to what's in season locally to me, what I can find at the farmer's market, but that's not always the case. I do have bananas every once in a while as well. I do like to support local, organic, sustainable farming methods. And even though I'm having bananas that were shipped from thousands of miles away, I also can see that as a plus. Is if I want a banana, I'm gonna have one. And also, wow, I live in a world where I can experience a fruit that doesn't grow in my region thanks to, technology, right? So I do have bananas. Raw honey is another carb source for me. Raw honey is a superfood. I absolutely love it. Packed with vitamins, minerals, nutrients. Bee products are amazing. I'm a big fan of them. I have bee pollen in my yogurt as well on a regular basis. I already mentioned milk. Primarily, I drink raw milk. There's a local farm, local to me, called Organic Pastures. They sell raw dairy products, raw grass-fed organic dairy products. So I drink their raw milk. I drink their raw skim milk to keep calories low, as I am on a cut. And they also do make some kefirs and some raw cheeses. Those I'm not having too much of at the moment just because of their caloric density. And I am, like I just mentioned, on a cut still. So these are all primarily what I'm eating at the moment. These are lower calorie, high volume carbohydrate sources. So dairy, milk, mentioned that. Cacao nibs I have almost on a daily basis as well. I have those primarily in yogurt, just, anywhere from 5 to 10 grams. It adds a really good crunch, and cacao is an amazing superfood. So raw cacao nibs. I also do have some beans every once in a while. Those I'm not sensitive to, and I operate fully functionally on beans. Some people think that lectins are the devil and this and that and stuff. So I have either black or pinto beans, not every day, but a couple times a week. My daughter is half Mexican. My girlfriend's Mexican. And so, she loves beans. Her family eats beans. I'm Latino as well, half Latino. So I've had beans in my ancestry. I do have some rice, not too much. Rice is pretty high. It's high volume, but it's also pretty high in calories. So I have that a couple times a week if it's available. Then I also have beets. Beets are a great carbohydrate source. They help produce nitric oxide in the body as well. I don't know if I'm eating enough beets to get that amount. I have experimented with beet juice powder and beetroot powder before, but that's another topic. So those are primarily my carb sources when I'm at home. On a daily basis, what I'm having every single day out of that entire list is just the yogurt and probably the fruits. It's either apple or banana. I'm sorry, apple or berries. Like I said, I'm posting some pictures here of some of my common meals. I'll probably have other videos going over my fat sources as well as my protein sources and my favorite sources for that and what I currently eat. So keep in mind that these are foods that I like, okay? And these are my choice of carbohydrates. And also forgot to mention the obvious one, vegetables. I do have a lot of zucchini noodles. I don't like zucchini chopped up, but I do like zucchini spiralized. It makes it really, really good in some homemade bone broth. I do that very, very often, multiple times a week. Homemade bone broth, I'll have some content coming out on homemade bone broth because it's so nourishing. It's so good, packed with protein, packed with collagen. And I do that. Some carrots every once in a while, but it's mainly potatoes and yogurt for the most part, and then everything else is sprinkled throughout the week. So with that being said, coming off of a ketogenic diet and a low carb diet, going to this higher carb diet, I didn't really notice, I don't have any shifts in energy, right? I wanted to give this a few months. It's been a solid 3-4 months doing this. And in the beginning, placebo in the mind is very powerful. So in the beginning, I wanted to not say anything definitive. I wanted to experience it and then share with you my thoughts and my experiences and my results. So there was one comment I got on my keto video saying, don't you remember in your ketosis video, you talked about being high carb and having low energy and brain fog all throughout the day? And that's true. I did say that in one of my first videos talking about ketosis. It's called How to Not Think About Food. And although experimenting with fasting and ketogenic diets is a great way to train yourself to not depend on food, at the same time, when I made that video, I was speaking in the context of highly processed carbohydrates. Pop-Tarts, breads, all these just processed carbs. Those, if I have those on a regular basis, obviously I'll feel like shit. But my carbohydrate sources are clean, whole food, simple foods, very minimally processed, very whole foods based. And there's nothing wrong with that. And as I showed you earlier on the chart, I didn't gain any weight just because I'm having a higher carb diet. It's funny to think that there's so many people and there's so much dogma with the ketogenic diet and insulin, thinking that insulin makes you fat, that insulin is a devil. No, insulin is a necessary hormone, and a spike in insulin after a meal in a healthy individual there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the process, right? Carbs are very important. If you think about ketones being the preferred fuel source for our body, which I used to think, and I probably said that in some older videos of mine, but looking at the data and just looking at a basic textbook, what does the cell run off of? Our cells run off glucose, especially the brain. So if you say that ketones are the primary fuel source for our body, that doesn't make sense. Because why does gluconeogenesis happen? When you're in a state of ketosis and you're not giving yourself glucose or carbohydrate, a lot of people, and I'm still debating I'm still researching this, but a lot of people will claim that even fasting and states of ketosis are actually a mild stress on the body, and it's fine to dip into it, but being in it too long term is a stress on the body, because glucose is just the primary preferred fuel source for our body, because you can't deny that. Why do we go through why will our bodies do gluconeogenesis when we're on a ketogenic diet? Because it needs to go through making proteins and fats into glucose so that the cells can be fueled properly. And some have claimed, again, I haven't looked into this. This is just something to consider about, and I'm just thinking out loud with you here. Some have even claimed that instead of that, it's more efficient to just give your body glucose and carbs so that it can have its fuel, versus giving it just protein and fat and having it go through gluconeogenesis, because that's a stress on the body. It has to go through so many more steps to get its fuel, gluconeogenesis, right? I mean, it just makes sense. So I'm not trying to convince you to go high carb or to eat carbs or whatever. I do think they can be beneficial. My muscle mass has gone up. My body composition has changed a lot over the last few months. Like, it's crazy. And I'm not doing any magical tricks. I'm not doing anything. I'm just hitting my calories and my macros and determining my macronutrient ratios, determining my targets, and filling it with foods that I find sustainable for me. So going back to what I was trying to say, I'm not trying to make you or convince you to eat carbs or to change your diet. Foods are foods, and you should be eating foods that work for you. Maybe you're really sensitive to dairy and to casein protein and to whey protein and just dairy in general, then obviously don't do this. Maybe you find a ketogenic diet or a low carb diet very sustainable for you, and you like it and you enjoy it and it helps you meet your targets. That's fine. The thing with me is that after 2 years of being on a ketogenic diet, I just simply realized I don't want to eat like this for the rest of my life. It's not sustainable for me. And it's not necessary for fat loss. Matter of fact, I weigh less and look way better now than I was on a ketogenic diet. And that's not because of the carbs. That's just because it allowed me to adhere to my macronutrient targets more sustainably. Does that make sense? So very, very key here is that you have to find what works for you and foods that work for you and tie those into your goal. The best diet is the diet that you can stick to. The best diet is the diet that you personally can adhere to long term, right? I don't feel restricted. I'm eating foods that I love, that I enjoy, nutrient-dense foods that fit my targets. Obviously, I'm gonna have successful long-term weight loss and an amazing body composition in the coming weeks, in the coming months, as I continue to work out and continue to work on my body composition, because I'm eating foods and a diet that works for me. Now, when I'm out, let's talk about when I'm not home. For example, I went to Legoland last weekend, or to San Diego. It's a theme park in Southern California. Stayed at the hotel, and they had a breakfast buffet and a dinner buffet. It was for my daughter's birthday. It was amazing. And I had whatever I wanted. I had mac and cheese. I had oatmeal. I had, let's see, what carb sources did I have there? I had a couple muffins. I just ate what I wanted to, but I was within my guidelines, right? I was within my targets. When I went to Mexico, obviously I've already talked about this in a previous video. I did have, whatever the hell I wanted to, because I wanted to experience the culture and enjoy the culture and experience the food that they have, the home cooked food. So my experience coming off of a ketogenic to a low carb diet from a ketogenic low carb diet to a higher carb diet has been completely fine. My energy levels are sustained. I don't feel restricted. I'm not thinking about food, and I will make I will give credit to experimenting with fasting and a ketogenic diet, because, doing 3-day fasts, intermittent fasting for 2 years, using fat as fuel, like that did help me realize, in the process of that, it did help me realize that, oh, hey, I don't need to depend on food. I'm in control, right? And I'm not eating super hyper palatable foods that are literally engineered to make you want more. Things like Oreos and candies, they are manufactured, they are made to be super caloric dense. There's not many nutrients in them, so you're not actually fueling your body. There's not many vitamins, not many minerals, so you want more. They don't satisfy you, and they're hyper palatable. They're literally engineered to make you want more, to be slightly addictive or have addictive properties. So, yeah. Everything's awesome. Everything's great, and I will have more information on this in the coming weeks if you want more. Now that I have a video on my carb sources, I might do a video on my favorite protein sources that are nutrient dense. my favorite fat sources and things like that. So let me know if you'd be interested in seeing that. You know, it's funny that we're talking about having a higher carb diet here, and I just had a keto coffee, right? I still have butter coffee every morning. You saw me make it. You saw me drink it. That just helps me. It helps me, and I like it. It's sustainable for me, and that's the key. So the key takeaway here is find what's sustainable for you. Don't listen to diet gurus. Don't, you know, if someone tells you you have to have this food and you can't have that food, probably they're trying to sell you something. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, leave them down below. I love to read them and I love to interact with you. And if there's any way that I can help you, just let me know. Give me a DM, give me a comment, and I will see you in next week's video. Any specific things you want to see, again, let me know. By the way, also almost forgot, I will be releasing a newsletter soon that's going to be filled with exclusive audio content from me. So I do the video content here on YouTube. I'm going to be releasing a newsletter each week with many different goodies, and it's going to be completely free, but it's also going to be the main part of it is exclusive audio content that you can listen to, download, and stream and things like that from yours truly. More details in the description below, so you can go and sign up for that completely free. I will never spam you. It's a newsletter to provide awesome information. So thank you so much. I love you, and I will see you guys in next week's video. Take care.